Hello and thanks for watching this Cloud9 ERP Solutions video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to talk about blanket sales orders, a new feature in Acumatica 2022 R1. One of the challenges we've had in Acumatica is for the ability to let customers order a bunch of items with quantities and have an agreement going forward that allows us to disperse these items to customers on a schedule. So for example, we're looking at a sales order. This is just a sales order in Acumatica. Customer ordered 290 of these, 58 of the pencils and 58 of the pens. But imagine if they needed these items over a series of time. They couldn't take all these items at once. And they also needed to get these items to different addresses. Maybe it's a big project they're working on and they have different shipping addresses. So none of that was possible in Acumatica without creating multiple sales orders. So let's create a new order in Acumatica so we get an idea how this works. To get started, let's take a look at order types. So Acumatica added a new order type for blanket sales orders. So there's one in our demo. We'll take a look at it so you can see the difference. And the big takeaway here is under template, the automation behavior is blanket order. So if you create a brand new order type, you'll select it as blanket order. And these are the settings you can use. Now notice the AR document type is no update. We'll get into that more as we proceed. So now let's create a blanket sales order. We'll go back to our sales order tab. We'll create a new one. We'll change our order type to BL. And you'll notice we have an expiration date now. The expiration date is your agreement with the customer that this blanket order will expire. So we'll select a date. We'll go out to maybe the end of February. We'll select a customer and we'll add a few items. And now let's take a look. If we scroll over to the right, there's a few new fields here. The first is the scheduled order date. So this allows us to disperse these items at different intervals. So for example, this laptop, we're saying January 27th, that's today's date, but we can move it out up to the 1st. And some of these others, we'll let this be the 1st also, but this one will extend out to maybe the 4th. And if you have items that have different schedule dates, the same item with a different schedule date, you'd simply add that item again and change the schedule. So for example, if I wanted to, I can add the Acer laptop again. And this will be 10, but I can change the date. In this case, I'm actually going to make it the same date, but I'm going to scroll over to another field that we have, and that is the ship to location. That's brand new. So Acumatica added that so that you can ship these items to different addresses. So for example, if I need to ship this to Vegas, where everything else is going to our main location, I can do that. So now let's save this and discuss the sales order a little bit more. So what you notice at the top is this button, Create Child Orders. So this is a blanket order. This is not our order that will go over to shipping. Acumatica will control the creation of sales orders, child orders, that have all the information we need based on this blanket order and maintain these quantities. Blanket open quantity is also a new field, so we're going to maintain this. Very similar to how we do it with blanket purchase orders, where we maintain the quantities balance. So that's an open blanket purchase order until we've completely fulfilled all the orders. So this is very similar to the way we do it in purchasing. So a couple more things. In addition to the create child orders, if we go into our lips, and of course you can make any of these favorites if they are something you do all the time, But we can print out our blanket sales order. And notice the blanket sales order form has been changed now. It's been changed to include the information we need on a blanket order, such as grouping the different items to different locations. So as you recall, we used our main location for a bunch of items, 3 items. But additionally, we added the Acer laptop for our Vegas location. We're going to ship that out there. So we have a new blanket order form. And if we go back, the other thing we can do is we can process an expired order. So as you recall before, we have an expiration date here. And that expiration date is the agreement you have with the customer. That's the date the customer will no longer want them. Or moreover, that's the date that you've said, hey, I'm going to give you this blanket sales order. I'm going to lock in that pricing for this period of date. You have to buy these items by that period of time. That's what the expiration date is generally used for. Having said that, if you have the rights, you can always process an expired order and make that exception for a customer. In addition to creating child orders, in Acumatica, we have our process screens. So if we go to process orders, and we look at our action, we have a new option to create child orders from here. So what this allows you to do is to look up all your blanket orders and create all the necessary child orders. Now notice there's nothing here, and that's because our scheduled order date says January 27th. And if you recall in our sales order, our dates push out to the earliest is February 1st. So if we go back to process orders and we change this, you'll notice that our blanket orders come up. But this will allow us to create all our child orders from one place, and we could even schedule them. The ability to schedule our orders and then on top of that schedule all our shipments allows these items that we promise to customers, to go through our normal work process and get into the hands of the warehouse workers quicker without someone setting a calendar reminder in Outlook and going out there and saying, okay, well, today's the day, we have to get these items out there. So this helps you streamline this, which in turn helps your customer service because you're hitting the dates that you promised. So let's go back. We'll go back to this one sales order and we'll create our child orders. And again, notice Acumatica says there are no lines suitable for creating child orders. That's because we are on the 27th and these require the 1st. Now again, we could do one of two things. We can change our business date to the 1st and then create our child orders. Or what we could have done over here, again, as you could see, you could change the date here. So let me create our child orders. And we have a new tab here now too to manage this. So our blanket order is here. We're maintaining, we have these quantities, blanket open quantities. Notice all of these are 0 now. They're all 0 because these quantities have been thrown onto a child sales order. All with the exception of this one because this one doesn't hit till the February 4th date. But if we go to the child orders tab, we can now see these 2 sales orders. So why did we get 2 sales orders? Well, we got 2 sales orders, even though they're the same date, because they're shipping to 2 address locations. And that's a real huge benefit because now we have the ability to control different addresses essentially to the same customer based on the same sales order, something we couldn't do before. The other thing I want to go over is if we go back to our details tab, we have this one line left over. It's got quantity 5 on it. And we talked about adding another line for the Acer laptop to control the date. In the end, I left the date the same, but I gave it a different ship to location. It was a good example to show you how we can differentiate and how the system will create different child orders. But additionally, if we highlight a line and we click line details, there's a couple of cool features here now too. This particular line, it shows the details. There's only one line here, but it shows that it's going out on the 4th. And notice the quantity. The quantity matches that particular line. If I change that quantity to, let's say, 3, Acumatica adds another line with the balance. And notice we can control the schedule date here. So let's say I need to split this. Customer calls me and says, hey, the remaining 2, do you mind? Can you get this out on the 10th? Okay, no problem. We can do that. And then additionally, one of the things that's here as well is the PO creation date. So we have the ability to control the date and delay our purchase order. We may not want to bring in this product. Warehouse space can be at a premium, and you don't want to bring in product for things that aren't going to go out for weeks or months later. So you can control this by pushing up this date. So maybe we want this by the 4th. And if we click OK, Acumatica now shows split here. If we scroll to the right, you'll also notice the PO creation date field here. We didn't talk about it before, but the PO creation date is also here, and it also says split because we have 2 different dates for that quantity. 5, there's 3, and then 2. That's a different quantity with different PO creation date. So this is very important, and if we go back, and let's say we check this box here, take a look at this real quick again. Our PO creation date is today. Well, our business date is 2/1, so it's actually 2/1. So this should have been ordered already, but we're going to try it right now. But then we have this other 2 quantity for the 4th of February. So when we create our PO, we should see quantity 3 here, not all 5. So let's click on our create purchase order. And that's what you see here. The quantity 3 is set to go, but the additional 2, we won't order that, not for another week or so. So this is very beneficial. We have the ability now to not only maintain our blanket sales orders for customers, but additionally control the level of purchasing that otherwise we would just have to order immediately. The system would create that demand and we would create those purchase orders immediately. So this is another really great feature, that PO creation date. Now, lastly, if we go back to our sales order, our blanket sales order, we have this expiration date here for February 28th. Now, if we change our business date and we go out to, let's say, the 2nd of March, click OK. Notice what happens here. We now have an expiration date and there's a warning. The sales order is expired. Change the date of the expiration or use process expired orders. So in Acumatica, if I click create child orders, I get an error message. It won't let me do it. So normally the users that are able to create child orders, they're going to get stopped based on an expiration. Or we could change this date forward, save it, and now we remove the warning and we can create our child orders. So that's Acumatica's blanket sales order functionality, new in 2022 R1. If you have any questions about this or anything else Acumatica, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching and subscribing to our YouTube channel, and have a great day.